talk about this because we both had
Fine.
it. He's asking about how security changed and how the Iraqis outcycled us in all things intelligence and
Starting it?
Yeah, we started.
You remember when those guys tried to come back in and they lasted like 12 minutes? Yeah. Pretty much what happened. Those guys were straight Al Qaeda, and they.
And what was the date on this?
This was August or September. I was at Thaylet, so it was September, somewhere around there. They well, actually, when were you out there?
I was there the last month. I actually rode in the 7-ton out with
Okay, that's
Jaeger.
right.
So I was there that 3 weeks prior to that.
All right, so it was probably September, October, somewhere around there. And what happened was they sent Al Qaeda sent a recruiting element, and even before they came, the intel guy came to me, I think via Prohaska, and said, "Hey, you need to know people are going to be coming here. We need permission to go into this region." And I loved it when they asked me this because, like, the Marine Corps can't handle this much coordination. Like, this happened all the time. They'd say, "We have this target in this location. Can you clear it for us to go there?"
So this is the Iraqi police.
Yeah,
And
they always
asked you for-
had. They knew the drill. They were always pretty good about. They wouldn't tell us who was there. They wouldn't tell us. They would never tell us. They were actually pretty good on OPSEC. They wouldn't tell us any source information ever, but they always told us what they were doing, where they were going, and really who they were going after.
So how this conversation happens?
They just walk up and say.
Yeah.
Usually they'd pull me aside, Colonel Adnan or the intel guy, and they go, "We need to talk."
And Prohaska was your S2 guy.
S2 guy, and then it was always late at night. I don't know why, but that's when all the work got done, 3 in the morning, because it was social. This right here, like the beer without the beer, but
Yeah.
this right here is when work got done. Like
Yeah.
when we were eating, when we were hanging out, is when the real work happened. So. And it would be literally like, "Oh, like, fuck your mom, ha 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 ha, by the way, Al Qaeda's coming tomorrow, we're gonna get him," and then it's like, let's go talk about your mom some more. So,
Yeah.
it was literally like that. Or we'd be talking about Iran, and then we'd go straight into Al Qaeda, and then back to Iran.
Yeah.
So, so they pull me aside and they say, "We need permission to go into Tamim," which is where this was going down, or no, it wasn't Tamim. This one was in where the Christians live, 20th Street, down there, and they said, "Can you let them know?" Roger, I'll let them know. And then, literally, the next day, they bring people in and they say, "Hey, we got him." Who'd you get? What are you getting? "Oh, we got the 2 Al Qaeda guys. They were the recruiting effort, or the recon element, and we got them." "Oh, how long have they been in the city?" "Oh, like 12 minutes, like 7 minutes." And, like, that's just the way it went, and that's not a one-time thing. Literally, people would come into the city,
Yeah.
and they would nab them up, and they would know. And it was interesting because there were a ton of people from Baghdad and Ramadi because there was a mass exodus from Baghdad. And I'm not talking about just Sunnis, it was Shia too. And they made it a point. They hated when you asked the question about Sunni Shia. They hated that question. I always say, "What's the beef between the Shia and Sunni?" And they'd say, "Oh, you fucking Americans, you always get this wrong. Stop perpetuating this issue." And so they were really sensitive, and every time someone brought it up, Colonel Adnan would call his friend in Baghdad, who was Shia. And they all intermarried and all that, so.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because they did allow outsiders to come into their city, and we had refugees, and I met the refugees, and I'm sure you did, and we all took care of the refugees, and they were proud about taking care of the refugees. This is why we suck and they're good at intel. Is because if someone told us last year that they were from Baghdad or they were from anywhere else, they were nabbed up, no matter what. And that's why we created more problems, and that's why we weren't creating any security in the city because now that entire fucking family's pissed off at us.
Right.
With them, either through social networking or whatever, they're calling about on cell phones and saying, who's this guy, who's this guy, who's this guy, who's this guy. This is the guy you need to watch out for. Literally, I remember him saying he just went through Fallujah, which means he's calling someone in Fallujah and saying a relative or something,
Right.
and he's just, so they had eyes all in the Sunni Triangle.
Right.
And so he knew when he left Baghdad, he knew when he went through Fallujah, and then he knew when he got in because he had people. He actually did tell me this. It was a woman who was watching the house, which he knew where they would be staying. So as soon as they came in, they rolled down, grabbed him, and they brought him to war. So
So they arrested him.
yeah, they arrested him.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
think that was a big shift in the rule of law for them, because when we were there, it was a transition from killing to arresting.
Yeah.
And I'd say they were like remarkably good at it.